Okay. So I've got bought the bike last November. Finally hit 3,309 miles. I did the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail 2 weeks ago. It was I think it was 1,800 miles total. I'll have to double check the math on that. My remembering of numbers is not the best in the world. But left from near St. Louis, Missouri, rode up to Galena, spent the night, and I hit the trail the next day. I did the lower half, starting in Galena, went a little ways north of Sparta. It was an excellent trip. When I got done, I went to La Crosse, Wisconsin, spent 2 days there, visited my brother-in-law, and then I rode home that Friday. So left here Monday morning, got home Friday. As I said earlier, wonderful trip, nice trail. Only thing that gave me any trepidation was the sand. I was doing real good on it until I went from horrible sand to absolutely disgusting sand in about 3 inches. Laid the bike down, got my foot stuck under it. Managed to slide out of my boot and my pants to get it back up, continue on my trip. Twisted my knee a little bit. It's doing better. Today I'm just taking a short ride to go grab some lunch. Only issues I've had on the bike in the time I've owned it have been very minor. One of the screws that hold the windscreen on disappeared somewhere on that ride. Started hearing a little vibration at speed and narrowed it down to it was the windshield humming, and started looking. The bottom right screw was gone, so I pulled into Ace Hardware in Prairie du Chien and bought a little plastic bolt nut just to keep it from rattling, and the two screws fell out of my kickstand pad aftermarket, and I bought 3 screws for that, upgraded the whole thing. The originals had lock nuts on them. Just cheap Chinese nuts, didn't lock very well, but that wasn't really an issue other than aggravation. And burned no oil on the trip, which I would hope not. It's a relatively new bike. The bike handled everything I threw it into very well, with the one exception of sand, and some of that was a rider issue, not sand issue. I was cooking along around 35 miles an hour for the sand that I was in. Like I said, it was tracking very well. And then suddenly the sand just went to like the sugar sand we had in Panama City Beach, Florida. And the front end decided it was just gonna do what it wanted to do. Got buried in the sand, whipped the rear end around. Is what it is. It's part of riding off-road. Comfort wise, it was great while I was doing the trail. Ride up there wasn't too bad to Galena. I think it was about 5 hours up there. Took me a little over 12 hours to get home from La Crosse. It's normally about 7.5 hour drive by car. Interstate. I tend to avoid interstate on the bike. It's not that the bike can't do it, it's just this guy is humming along, and it's not the most comfortable thing at 70 miles an hour for me. Some people do it and don't have an issue with it. I don't find it unsafe. It's just you're slightly on edge the entire time, making sure things don't go amok. So I just avoid interstates, take back roads, and on the ride back, my rear end doesn't handle the seat the way it did when I was younger. So I set a timer for 1 hour, and I would every hour I would make myself stop just to walk around, get the load off, stretch. And so I would find a local park or a stream or just something pretty to sit and look at while I was letting the body recuperate. The best tank of gas on the trip was 55 miles to the gallon. Worst tank was, I think it was 47, 48, somewhere in there. But all in all, bike did very well. The entire reason I got the KLR is the second bike I ever owned was a Honda Transalp back in the 80s. Absolutely just love that style of bike. A lot of similarities. Not a great street bike, not a great off-road bike, but it does both very well. And I'd like to go and play a game called Where's This Road Go? So just start riding somewhere and grab a road and just go down it. See what's at the end of it. Sometimes it's dirt, sometimes it's trails, sometimes it's wood, sometimes it's another road. And cruisers don't do that very well. And I've just found this style of bike is suited for my type of riding. I'm not trying to race, I'm not trying to do anything real crazy. And it's the perfect bike for me. I can see the shortcomings for some people. It's not fast enough or comfortable enough on the interstate. Others, it's not quite good enough on tough single track or mud and things like that, but it'll do them all pretty good. Well, speaking of the entire reason I left the house today, I'm at Beastcraft Barbecue, gonna enjoy some good barbecue deliciousness, and I will see y'all after I eat. That was a good meal. Had a Jimbo slice. Tasty bun. Brisket. Kielbasa. Coleslaw. Delicious mustard-based sauce. French fries. And a couple root beers. If you're ever in the neighborhood, Beastcraft Barbecue, check them out. Put my pin lock back in this morning, and it's doing just as a pin lock should. Come on, car. Things that I've done to the bike. Got the Garmin Zumo Tusk crash bars in the front. both the upper and the lower. Tusk rear racks. I have the aluminum and the soft panniers for it. Tusk tank bag. Quad lock anti-vibration mount. I've got the Oxford heated grips. Best purchase I made. I've got auxiliary lights in the front. I run them all the time. I have found it's anecdotal evidence, but it appears to me that cars are much less likely to pull out in front of you because you're a lot more visible and they have more trouble seeing how far away you are. Brighter lights make you look closer, so they're much less likely to pull out in front of you. I've seen cars where if I was in my truck, they would have pulled out and went safe distance away, but they hesitate. So just having more visibility is a big plus, but in my opinion, running the auxiliary lights is just a huge safety deal. I bought the risers for the windscreen, but you notice I have them at the lowest setting, and I have the windshield straight up and almost straight up and down. That puts the wind to where it goes right over my helmet. And with this Klein Peros Pro, the noise is minimal, very little buffeting unless a large truck goes by or a huge gust of wind coming from the left or the right, but very comfortable as far as the wind goes. In the coldest part of the winter, I do move it up, and it just tends to block a little more air around my body. I don't have a huge cocoon of air around me, but it hits perfect on the head. I've got air hitting on my chest at the moment. It feels great. You know, it's not a large amount, but it's enough to get some flow through the jacket if needed. Play a little frisbee in the street. What's up, Buddha? What's going on, Betty?